Well, gun issues, unfortunately, just made national headlines, both in Georgia and then here in Memphis as well. And this is bringing up, again, the fight between the city and the state to get some gun control measures on the November 5th ballot. So just a quick recap this week in Georgia. There was, well, these are the gun measures. We'll start there. So requiring handgun permits, banning assault weapons, and creating a red flag law are what Memphis city leaders want to put on the November 5th ballot for voters to decide on. Now, Tennessee's top Republicans are threatening to withhold about $77 million in sales tax revenue because it goes against the state law. But a chancellor did set a hearing date for this case on September 16th. And just a recap of some of those big national headlines and locally, we know that there was a 14-year-old student at Appalachia High School in Georgia who opened fire in the classroom, killed two students, two teachers. And then as well as here in Memphis, there was a student at Jeter K through 8. This is video of the Georgia high school shooting. Very, very scary there. Here in Memphis, there at Jeter K through 8, there was a student who brought a gun to school. Now, authorities were able to find it and locate it before anything unfortunate happened. It was a very close call there. And then, honestly, the same day later, Whitehaven Community Center, there was a shooting outside of there where a 14-year-old girl was sent to the hospital. So, clearly, gun crisis in America, hurting a lot of communities here. Those measures, are they more important now than ever? Do you think people want to see that on the ballot? We'll start with Twan.
I think they want to see that on the ballot, but I think you have to be careful that you don't hurt your city in the process. And they need to figure out a way by talking to people. How do we get the sentiment of the community and know what we want and share that with elected officials in Tennessee? I'm scared that we may jeopardize $77 million that we desperately need. So I just think the referendum needs some massaging to be diplomatic, get opinion from the citizens and share that information with our state elected officials so they can be more empowered with the laws they make. Now, I'm not sure it's going to help, but there is a cry out from citizens, black, white, rich, poor, for some gun safety measures. But we are ignoring the fact that not only do we need gun safety measures, we also need to strengthen coalitions to build and strengthen families.
Yeah.
Otis, do you think the city has a chance to actually win this lawsuit and get the ballots or the measures on the ballot?
That's hard to say. A lot of it depends, obviously, on the judge and the sentiments that the judge has. But I want to say specifically that it was the Tennessee legislature that passed a trigger law that had to do with abortion, knowing that they could not implement it at the time. And they were waiting for the Supreme Court to get rid of Roe versus Wade, then the trigger law would kick in. I see these three referendum questions as trigger laws here. And knowing that they can't be implemented unless the legislature changes the rules and allow Memphis and any other municipality to implement things. That's what should happen here. They cannot legally take $77 million away. If they do, it's going to court, as it should. And I can't see a judge saying, just because Memphis wanted to have something on a ballot, that you're going to take $77 million away. I don't know of a judge who's going to let that slide.
That's true.
Pastor Norman, what does $77 million mean to the city of Memphis?
It's a lot. I mean, given that we just had a tax increase in the city of Memphis where we needed more revenue just to fill up some of the holes, not to get us ahead, but just to get us on par. So that means that if we lose $77 million, that takes us back, and that really hurts us a lot. I think this law, though, in particular, and I agree with my colleagues here, this is something that is reasonable and common sense. We're not talking about taking people's guns from them. We're not saying that they don't have the right to defend themselves in the right process and order. We're saying that you should have a permit and that you should also give judges, people who we think or have appointed or have been elected to have the right rationality and reasonability to help decide these measures. Judges should have the ability to determine if a person doesn't have the mental capacity capacity to keep and control a gun, we should take it away from them. I agree with that. I think most of my friends would agree with that. And I think the assault weapons piece, we've got to really have a conversation. Look at what happened in Georgia. A father approves of his son,
Right.
who is
That's
14 years old,
13 at the time.
13 at the time, having an assault weapon because he was being bullied at school. And wow, look at the result of what happens here.
Yeah, parenting is a big issue that we're not dealing with. And in both of those cases, even the fight at the Whitehaven Community Center, it was the adult who went to the car and got the
Exactly.
gun. And we've got to deal with, as a community, some poor parenting.
Right.
And how do we strengthen families and parents to do a better job in parenting children? Troubled children come from an environment.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't just appear troubled.
Yeah.
And it's the overreach of the state legislative body, I think, to censure or to take away the right of a community of people to put a referendum on the ballot to decide their own measures of safety for their community. We have a duly elected body, the city council, that goes about doing this the right way. I do agree it could be tweaked, it could be fine-tuned, but certainly to take away our voice and our right to consider, that's an overreach.
Do you think that this could be resolved even by November 5th? Can it even go with the appeals and everything?
Well, it has to be, that really has to be resolved by September 21st.
Right.
Because that's the deadline to get the language onto the ballot.
Right.
So if it'll be a moot point if it doesn't happen then.
Well, I do have to stop it there. Thank you all. You all were wonderful as always. Great points made, valid for sure. Thank you all for joining us.